Then I remember I went back to New York City. The ship was going to Australia. I said, well, that's a good place. I've never been to Australia. I got this ship called the SS Australian Isles, and man, it was a piece of junk. And I was second assistant on there. This guy couldn't get, the chief engineer couldn't get any engineers to go on the ship. It was so junky. But he said, well, it was going in the shipyard, and they was going to fix everything up. Well, I knew they didn't fix everything up on them ships. They left them junk. I got it in New York, and I got off in Baltimore. I remember going behind the boiler to blow the tubes, and you had a whole raincoat, rain hood, and everything on. So I got off in Baltimore. In Baltimore, then I got a job on the Waterman ship, the City of Alma. I remember this ship was another piece of junk. From there, we went coastwise to New Orleans, and then we went from New Orleans, and this was a southern ship, which means most of the crew on there, the biggest part of the crew, were from the south. Kunas, we call them, all Kunas. They were all Kunas boys. They had rice 2 or 3 times a day. And that ship then finally went to, I think, Rotterdam or Amsterdam. And I rode it to Rotterdam or Amsterdam, whichever way we went. I think it was Rotterdam. And we made that trip and come back. And I got off there in New Orleans. And I went back out to San Francisco, and then I got a second assistant's job on the Ocean Evelyn. Pretty big ship, 10,000, I think it was like 20,000 horsepower that ship was. Big ship. And we went to, I think we went to, well, let's see, we went through the Panama Canal on this one, let's see. And yeah, it was hard getting people. You couldn't get engineers, you couldn't get seamen to do the ships. And this was the first one that I was promoted to first assistant. That's right. Gave me a temporary first assistant job. I was second assistant on the ship, and I'd been on for one trip, and they made me temporary first assistant because they couldn't get one out of the hull. Coming out of the Panama Canal, we were westbound towards Thailand, I think, and coming out of the Panama Canal, we had low water. We had 2 incidents on this damn ship, both on the same watch. It had to do with I don't know, the engineers or somebody on the watch was drunk or they were fighting or something. But the first incident I remember was firemen come and told me that the engineer went over and cranked the fans down. Anyhow, the outcome of the whole thing was the boiler started jumping around and scared the hell out of everybody, and the front of the boiler got blown out. And so when we went to Thailand, we had to have an outfit cut the whole front of the boiler out and weld in a whole new front of the boiler. Happened like 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, and I was first assistant on there, so I was working days from 8 to 4 in the afternoon. I was getting up to go to breakfast. The ship slowed down. You could feel the ship slowing down. Well, when the ship slowed down at sea, there's something wrong. I ran down the engine room. The second assistant, the oilers at the throttle slowing the ship down. I said, what's the matter? He said, having water trouble. I went down below to the second assistant. He's messing around with some control on the feed pump. And I said, okay, I'll go up and handle the throttle until you get things straightened up. So I started cutting back on the throttle because you could watch it, what they call an eye high there. The eye high was mounted on the boiler, and you could see the blue dye in there. And as this dye went down, the water in the boiler got lower. Well, as the water in the boiler got lower, it might be carrying over into the main steam line. And so if this water carried over into the main steam line, then as the cooler water hit the hotter part of the pipe, it would blow something up. Well, this damn water carried over. I didn't get this throttle shut quick enough or enough, and this water carried over. And where the throttle on this ship was I was right underneath the main steam line. And when the main steam line blew up, it was mounted in up about 8, 9 feet over the throttle, and there was a big metal can that went around it. Well, inside this metal can was the main steam line strainer, and the cover of the strainer was maybe 2 or 3 inches thick, and it was maybe 15 inches around, and it had about 25 bolts on it. And covering this metal can was all this insulation, asbestos type insulation. And when this thing hit, it blew the can off, it blew the insulation off, and it come right down the wall, right above where the throttle was, right underneath it. And when it hit, he went one way, I went the other way, but it hit us first, see. And at those times it was hot. And at those times, all I wore down the engine room was just a overhauls, coveralls. I didn't have anything underneath them except my shorts and my shoes and socks. And that blew that asbestos so damn hard, blew it all the way back down the back of blew it on my head. First I had asbestos red asbestos all over the top of my head, covering the top of my head, and my shoulders and everything, and a blue lead asbestos all the way down the back of my coveralls, all the way into the back of my shoes. I had asbestos all the way in the back of my shoes. That's how hard that thing blew. Lucky it didn't hurt either one of us. But that was the interesting story of that ship, and then we had to go down and we had to get it fixed up and get to put another gasket in there and fix the thing up, and we got going and went on our way to Thailand. And when we came back to the States in September, that was in June, that I shipped on there, and we came back in September, and that was on the Ocean Evelyn, and I got off in San Francisco. That was the Pacific Victory. That's the one I was on for so long. And that one they had just taken out of mothballs. I think it had made a couple runs before I got on it. And boy, I really got that ship fixed up nice. That was my love, the Pacific Victory. Everything was all painted up real nice, and yeah, I was all the way on that ship till January 30th of '69, and that's when they came back and they laid the thing up. And boy, it broke my heart. That was really a nice ship. And then January '69, I got off the Ocean Evelyn, and I went and got my. I went on in February I went on the Purdue Victory, and that was my last ship, I think. I went on a Purdue Victory in February. I got off the Purdue Victory in April, and that was the last one. Then I went ashore and I got my chief engineer's license in June of '69, and that was the end of my seagoing career. I passed up a chance to teach for Russ Law, who was had the engineering school up in Oakland. After I got my chief's license, he asked me if he couldn't get any. He needed somebody else to teach, and at that time I knew that shipping was starting to wind down. I had made up my mind that I was going to quit going to sea. I messed around there for a month or a couple months. I think I didn't get a job, and I didn't ship out. I think thought I was done with shipping. I was writing up a resume, and what I really wanted to do was go back somewhere south, like maybe New Orleans, or maybe. And my trainer was still out in L.A. About this time next year, I said, I'll probably be married. He said, oh yeah. He said, well, who's the lucky girl? I said, I don't know. I haven't picked her out yet. I said, but I'm going to quit running around and quit messing around with this crap. I said, I'm tired of this. I'm going to find me myself a nice girl and settle down. So then, I was getting ready to leave Lorraine and go back to San Leandro and start sending resumes for jobs. It was August. It was the day the men landed on the moon. I think that was August 20th, or the weekend of August 20th, 1969. Call up your girlfriend, Karen, in Chicago. I said, tell her to come down here for the weekend so we can meet. And we had written each other letters, a few letters before that. Karen had just graduated. When it was August. It was the day the men landed on the moon. I think that was August 20th, or the weekend of August 20th, 1969. I said, call up your girlfriend, Karen, in Chicago. I said, tell her to come down here for the weekend so we can meet.